Hi, it's me, Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and join me at Patreon. Link in the description. A shopping trip. The rest of the school term went along as normal, well, almost normal. For the first time, Masumi's grades were better than Mike's. Not too much better, but better. And Michelle had been kind of absent. Both of these worried Masumi a little, along with a little depression that she had noticed in Mike. She knew Mike was the smarter of the two. His grades had always been just a little better. And Michelle not being around was not good for Mike's psyche. She had to do something. Late one morning, about 2 weeks before Christmas, she said, "Come on, get dressed. I want to go shopping." "I am dressed." "No, you're not." "I want to go shopping with Michelle." He looked at her a little puzzled and said, "Why Michelle?" "I miss her, and she needs to get out. And I want to see the blonde Michelle when you come back out of the bedroom. And a skirt, no pants." Mike grumbled a little, but got up and went to the bedroom. She knew she had a little more than half an hour before Michelle came back, so she made a couple of phone calls. She was right, half an hour, and there was Michelle. She looked okay, but not her usual self. It had been that way since that Sunday dinner at Mike's parents'. Masumi drove, and they headed downtown. She parked in front of an upscale beauty parlor. Michelle looked at her a little puzzled and said, "I thought we were going shopping." "We are. But a trip to the beauty parlor always make a girl feel great." "I know I'm passable. But they'll know when they see the wig. I've already called. And the manager is going to take care of you personally. So, not to worry." They got out of the car and walked into the shop and were greeted by a very nice receptionist. Masumi told her that she had called earlier and spoken to the manager. The receptionist checked her book and said, "Oh yes. Aaron said that you would be in. Please have a seat and he'll be with you in a few minutes." Michelle whispered, "He." "Sure, there are a lot of male hairdressers." A few minutes later, a very nicely dressed young man walked into the reception area, looked at Masumi and Michelle, and said, "Hello. My name is Aaron. What can I do for you lovely ladies?" Masumi said, "My friend, Michelle, needs a complete makeover." "Well, come with me, and we'll see what we can do." They got up, followed Aaron into the shop and a private room. He had Michelle remove her blouse, put on a smock, and sit in the chair. Then he proceeded to look very closely at her face and hair. He then said, "You have great bone structure. And your makeup is very good, but I think we can do a few things to improve it. Your hair does need a little help. And to be honest, I have a number of male clients, and you are the prettiest one." At that point, a girl walked into the room, and Aaron introduced her. "This is Anna. She's the wig stylist, and she does great work. I wanted her to see the wig on you before she started." Anna said, "Hi. The wig looks great, but I think I can make it fit your face a little better. Do you mind if I take a couple of pictures?" "No. Go right ahead," Michelle said. Anna took about half a dozen pictures with a digital camera, then said, "Do you mind if I take the wig? I'll bring it back when I'm all done." "Sure." Anna carefully removed the wig, and Aaron commented on the way Michelle had her eyebrows taped. Anna walked out with the wig, and 2 other girls walked in. Aaron introduced them. "This is Mary. She is going to give you a pedicure and a manicure. And this is Kathy. She is going to give you a full facial. And do your makeup." So, over the next couple of hours, Michelle was treated to the full treatment. Pedicure, manicure, with acrylics, full facial, her eyebrows were thin some more. Michelle got into it and just relaxed and enjoyed. After her facial, Kathy went to work on Michelle's makeup. When Mary and Kathy were finished, Aaron and Anna came back in with the wig. It looked gorgeous. They had added highlights and cut it into a shag style that would fall onto her shoulders. Aaron carefully placed the wig back on Michelle's head, styled it a little, and smiled. He looked at Masumi, who had been chatting with Michelle, but taking this all in, and asked, "What do you think?" "I've never seen her look so pretty." "Thank you. We aim to please." He slowly turned Michelle so that she could see. And Masumi was right. Michelle had never looked so good. Michelle turned her head this way and that, just to look at her face from every direction. She then turned to Masumi and said, "You were right. A trip to the beauty parlor always makes a girl feel great." "Thank you. You're welcome, lover." Aaron asked, "We have an album of our clients. Do you mind if we take a couple of pictures of you?" "No, not at all," Michelle answered with a smile. They went out to the reception area. Aaron took a few pictures of Michelle while Masumi took care of the bill. As they were walking out, Michelle asked, "Okay, where did the money come from for this? It had to be expensive." "There you go complaining. Didn't it just make you feel just so good?" "Yes, but..." She put her finger on Michelle's lips and said, "No, but's lover. Just enjoy and don't worry. I want my old Michelle back. And Miyuki wouldn't be bad either." They got back in the car and headed to one of the upscale malls in the area. The two of them turned heads and received smiles from both men and women as they walked through the mall. They spent a few hours clothes shopping, and Masumi found a couple of blouses she loved. She just really loved shopping with Michelle. She had a great eye for style and didn't pull any punches. If she didn't like it, she said so. It was getting close to dinner time, and they hadn't had lunch, and they were both getting hungry. The real upscale restaurant in the mall was the Firehouse, and Masumi had somehow gotten reservations. The maitre d' checked his list and showed the two ladies to a table, but someone, another girl, was already sitting there. As they walked up, Michelle recognized her sister, Ruth. Michelle looked a little puzzled at Masumi. And Masumi said, as they were sitting down, surprise, "I thought that Ruth just might like to meet Michelle. Was I right, Ruth?" "Very much so. And Michelle, what Masumi has said about you just doesn't do you justice. Miyuki was pretty, but you're just downright beautiful." Just then someone else walked up behind Michelle, bent over and gave her a kiss on the cheek with a "Hello, honey." Michelle jumped and looked. It was her mom. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "Surprise again, lover," Masumi said with a grin. "I thought that we should include your mom in our girls' night out." Her mom sat down next to her, took her hands in hers, looked her in the eyes, and whispered, loud enough for everyone at the table to hear, "Honey, you're so pretty. Your father doesn't know what he's missing." Michelle looked quickly around the restaurant and said, "He's not here." "Is he?" Everyone else laughed. And her mom said, "No, honey. No males at this party." The four girls had a nice leisurely dinner together and talked for a long time like four old girlfriends. Afterwards, they window shopped the mall and stopped for a nightcap at a bar in the mall. As they were sipping their drinks, the waitress came over and said, "Those three guys over there want to know if you would like to join them." The girls looked over at the three, not bad-looking, guys. Three of the girls lifted their left hands, pointed to wedding and engagement rings, and shook their head no. The guys lifted their glasses, smiled, and shrugged their shoulders. The girls went back to their chatting, and Mrs. Gifford finally asked, "Michelle, when did you start wearing a wedding ring set?" Michelle told her about the time that she and Masumi had been hit on in Japan and how hard it was to get rid of the guys. And how later Masumi had gotten the idea to get rings for both of them so it wouldn't happen again. Everyone had a good chuckle over it, and Mrs. Gifford said, "Daughter-in-law, that was a great idea." After they finished their drinks, they were saying their good nights. Ruth was giving Michelle a hug and whispered, "You know, sis, I wish you had been born a girl. It's tough being the only girl in a family. And you do look fantastic." "Thanks. Just remember you really have two big sisters now, Masumi and I. If you ever need anything or someone to talk to, we're here for you." Mrs. Gifford said to everyone, "You know, girls, this has been so much fun. We need to do it again. And we will. Often." On the way home, Michelle and Masumi were talking about how much fun the evening had been. And they ended up stopped at a traffic light. Michelle looked at Masumi and said, "Sam, this was the best shopping trip that I've ever had. It's what I needed to get out of my blue funk. I love you so much." And she reached over and gave her a deep kiss. As they broke the kiss, Michelle looked up, and a carload of teenaged girls had pulled up next to them. All were staring at them, one in disbelief, one with her mouth wide open, and two were smiling at them. Michelle waved, smiled back, and said to Masumi, "Look to left, smile, and wave." Masumi looked, smiled, and waved. The girls started giggling and drove off, almost through a red light. Our two girls just shook their heads and left. Masumi said, "I guess we shocked them a little bit." I doubt it. Kids these days have seen it all. Separated. Christmas and New Year's came and went. And spring semester started. It was the final semester of their undergraduate degrees. Both were going to go on for their masters, and Masumi was already talking about her PhD. It would be hard on them, but as with anything that they did together, it was doable. Part of the way through the semester, they both received letters from the university, giving them full-ride scholarships for their master degree work. This made both of them feel like $1 million. Michelle was around, as was Miyuki, and they had great fun going out as two Japanese girls. The rest of the term flew by, and their grades were good enough for both of them to graduate magna cum laude. Mike's mom and dad gave them a graduation party, and the big surprise was that Masumi's parents, sister, and her husband were there. It was like a big family reunion, with good friends thrown in for good measure. While they were working on their masters, one of Mike's requirements was that he had to intern with a governmental organization for a semester. This meant that he would have to be in Washington, D.C. for about 3 months, and Masumi would have to remain at home to work on her masters. It was going to be hard. They hadn't been separated since they were married. When the time came for Mike to leave, it was almost as bad as their separation this summer after they had first met. Mike would be living in a large apartment building just inside the Washington Beltway. And he had been lucky enough to get a single. Some of the others, that were there for internships, were living as many as 4 in a 2-bedroom apartment. He drove the 8 hours from home to Washington. It was a lonely trip. As he was unpacking, he opened one suitcase that he couldn't remember packing and smiled. Masumi had packed a number of Michelle's things. There was also a card, and she had written, "A few years ago when we were separated, I wrote, 'My love, I have lost my heart to you. You will be mine for always, and we will work out everything, even though we are far apart. The item in the box swears my undying love for you. Keep me in your dreams. I love you.' What I wrote then is felt even deeper now. You are my dreams, my life. This card also swears my undying love for you. When you become Michelle, as I know you will, keep me in your dreams. I love you. Sam." He sat on the bed and cried. Then, he picked up the telephone and called her. They talked for a good hour. He admitted to Masumi that becoming Michelle without her around wasn't any fun. But he also admitted that the urge would be there, along with the need to relax, and that she would be there in spurt when he dressed. As he unpacked Michelle's suitcase, he found a gift-wrapped package at the bottom. He opened it and found a very pretty red nylon nightgown with some very pretty embroidery on it. That night, Michelle enjoyed a very restful sleep with dreams of Masumi. Over the next 3 months, Mike worked hard, called Masumi every chance he got, exchanged emails with her, and became Michelle a number of times. The time went fairly quickly, but it was lonely without Masumi around. The last Friday that Mike was spending in D.C., he was packing his things for the drive home on Saturday. And there was a knock on the door. He walked over, opened it, and there stood Sam, with a very big smile on her face. Just like that time 5 years ago, they just looked at each other for the longest time. She finally jumped up, wrapping her arms around his neck and her legs around his waist. Their lips met in a very passionate kiss. When they finally broke, he said, "What are you doing here?" "You're not happy to see me," she said with the same fake little pout that she used 5 years ago. "I'm very happy to see you. But what are you doing here? Why didn't you tell me?" "I wanted to surprise you." "No kidding. A wonderful surprise. But why are you here?" "I have really missed you, and thought that you might like company on the drive home. I would enjoy that more than you know." She helped him finish packing. Then, he took her out to dinner at a very nice restaurant that he had found. That night, they spent a long time getting reacquainted. Saturday morning, they checked the apartment to be sure they hadn't forgotten anything, and hauled the suitcases down to the car and started the 8-hour trip home. As they were pulling out of the parking lot, Masumi said, "Let's not go straight home." "Why?" "There's no rush to get there. Besides, I want to see something out this way." "Okay, where do you want to go?" "It's a secret." "Well, if it's a secret, how am I going to know how to get there?" "I have instructions for you. You just need to follow them." Okay. Where do I go?" "Can you find I-95 North?" "Sure." "Okay, do it and I'll tell you from there." They drove north about 2.5 hours until they came to the Hershey, Pennsylvania exit. And Masumi said, "Here's where we get off." And she continued to give him directions until they pulled up in front of the Hotel Hershey. He looked at her and said, "You've got to be kidding. This place has got to be expensive." "There you go, complaining again." "Lover, just relax and enjoy." The bellhop met them at the curb and Masumi showed him what suitcases to take. A valet took the car to be parked, and the couple walked into a very elegant hotel. Masumi walked over to the desk, checked them in, and the bellhop took them to their room. He set the luggage in the room, and Masumi thanked him with a very nice tip. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.